Well, amidst the fallout of the dust at Mount Panorama just a fortnight ago, we go from New South Wales to continental Europe once again, as the Circuito de Jerez, Ángel Nieto is the host of round 9 of season 15 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, and a warm welcome to all our viewers on the JP Broadcasting Network. My name is Alex Goldschmidt, and I'll be joined in the booth as ever by our man who's not only just providing the colour commentary but also doing the production. Chris Murphy joins me once more as we are very close to heading ever nearer to our penultimate round of the Autobahn Endurance Cup, which will be taking place on the 2nd of March. But here's a reminder of the calendar still to go. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the road course, will be going there on February the 16th. Then 2 weeks after, we head to Sebring, just 70 miles south of Florida, for March the 2nd, which will be the penultimate round of the Autobahn Endurance Cup. March the 16th, we'll return to continental Europe. That's where we'll remain for the final 3 rounds of season number 15, as March 16th sees us go to the famed Hockenheim Ring in southern Germany. Motorland Aragon in Spain will host the penultimate round of the series on March 30th, and the final round of both the Sports Car Challenge and the Endurance Cup will see us head to the iconic, very famed, very technical Circuit de Sport Francorchamps on April the 15th. But before we get trackside here at Jerez, let's take you through these scores as they stand at the moment in the respective championships. So Nathan Dowd is our leader after a spectacular win at Bathurst, and he leads Brandon Wilson. He gave him a more stick in the first half hour before Brandon Wilson unfortunately binned it twice, and then decided, well, I'm not going to be doing that well. He's 13 points adrift. Pat Belcher, despite being missing in action for multiple weeks, still rounds out the top 3, but Dominic Dernberg right behind him on 190 points. Harrison Higgins, Jimbo Pfeiffer, Jordan Martin, and Billy Smith the second round out the point scorers as they stand. We move to LMP2, and Cadin Richardson has a big advantage at the moment in terms of the points. Now, these are not including the drop scores, but Cadin Richardson on 214, but with, let's call it without drop scores at the moment. So he's got 232 points, and he is ahead of, at the moment, Robert Tinsley and Mo Islam, who round out the top 2 of the top 3. They're level on points. Walker Carroll on 159. Then you've got the likes of Matthew Denise, Matt Brewer, Kevin Santana, and Justin Agrate, who round out the 8 that have scored in LMP2 so far. GTD, Carter Cunningham, missing in action tonight, is not here, and he has a slender advantage over Bradley Haley, who's got Robert Cast right up his rear, as they are split by 2 points so far when you're not considering drop scores into effect. Brian Bennett, Jason Kinger, Eric Staropoli, Adam Satterfield, and Ryan Waszlewski round out the scorers. In terms of the GTDs, GTD AM, it is being led by Paul Slavonic, as Samuel de Oliveira is closing the gap with the drop scores taken into consideration. It is the fact that there is just a 20-point advantage. David Fernandez, despite having opted to withdraw for the remainder of the series after a big drama at the Algarve a few weeks ago, he rounds out the top 3. Chris Sherburn is ahead of both Dale Green and Rich Minkler, who are tied on points, followed by Mark Kudrowski, Sheldon Rosenbaum, Joshua Wolf, Paul Lindsay, Shane Hunter, Alex Bentley, and Lyndon Swaby, who round out the point scorers so far this season. When it comes down to the team standings, however, it is the case that we do have one team leading the way, and it is Fury Simsport on 2,160 points, ahead of Composite Performance on 2,053. Sector 5, provided by Haley Agency, ran at the top 3 on 1,942 points. They are ahead of Solpac Precision Racing, Sector 5 Black, and Satellite Racing, who round out the top 6 in the 6 teams that have scored so far in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. And with that in mind, we are just into the final 40 or so seconds of qualifying. A very good evening, Chris Murphy.
Good evening, good morning there, Alex. Once again, happy to be with you, man. But once, 2 or 3 times a week, we get together and do this. It's so much fun. My first time ever seeing this track here before. So as usual, I am very happy you're here with me because I know you know your way around this place really well.
Not really, because this is more of a MotoGP World Superbike circuit. So sometimes you don't always get the opportunity of showing how these, some of these tracks do get used for, let's say, car racing, but it's very, very rare. And in the meantime, we've got Nathan Dowd, who is trying to go for the position at the moment, but Brandon Wilson is absolutely thrown a shot across the bow as Nathan Dowd decides to peel into pit lane, and well, it's based on a hairpin, and Brandon Wilson takes pole position by over 6.5 tenths of a second. So he is gunning for hopefully getting that opportunity back to be at the top of the standings. You'd never know, it might happen. It just depends on how things work out, as we do have a 60-minute encounter here at this Spanish circuit, opened back on September the 8th, 1985. Measures just over 2¾ miles. That's roughly equated to 4.4 kilometers, 13 turns, and the current variation has been in use since 1994. It is going to be an interesting one because this is a circuit that, as we spoke to a lot of drivers in the post-race interview show last time out a fortnight ago, Chris, that a lot of drivers had to purchase this circuit, and you have also had to purchase this circuit as well. So it's a relative unknown. It is very, very technical. There's a lot of elevation changes based on the local topography, but this could mean that there could be a lot of possible incidents. I mean, that might happen, especially when you have multi-class sports car racing.
Yeah, looking at the kind of landscape around here kind of reminds me of like a central northern California area, kind of rolling hills and just small brush out there. But this is definitely going to be an interesting. Yeah, we did talk to quite a few of the drivers last week that hadn't even, like you said, had to purchase a place, never even raced here. So it could be pretty interesting. Knowing that even though we got kind of a small field, I think it's definitely going to be interesting on this racetrack. It's got quite a unique shape to it.
Well, a very good evening, Carter Kundiger, who says, bummed to be missing tonight, currently checking in from a hotel room in the southern US. Can't complain too much, though. We'll be at Sebring tomorrow. So it's time to take you through the grid ahead of our 60 minutes encounter here in Spain. And it will be Brandon Wilson that will lead the field to green from pole position after a storming lap time by the man in the BMW MV8 Hybrid, representing Hyperion Racing. Nathan Dowd for Sector 5 will be rounding out the top two, so they will lead the field to green. Dominic Dernberg takes P3 in terms of the GTP classification, and it's Walker Carroll from Fury Simsport who takes pole position ahead of Cadin Richardson, the series points leader in the LMP2 side of things. Robert Tinsey for Satellite Racing takes third in the class ahead of Mo Islam, who finally got what he wanted, and it was on the top step back at Bathurst. There's only two cars in the GTD side of things. It's Robert Cast and Bradley Haley who will be lining up. Samuel de Oliveira will lead the field in GTD AM ahead of the Porsche, the 00 of Mark Kudrowski. The 007 Gone Broke Racing Acura of Chris Sherburn rounds out the top three ahead of Dale Green in the 979 Yellow Submarine Aston Martin, and Sheldon Rosenbaum in the 87 Chevy Corvette Z06 GT3R will round out our grid. So in many respects, that is effectively a 14-car grid. The numbers have dwindled over the past few rounds of the series, but nevertheless, We have had some entertaining battles along the way, Chris, haven't we?
Oh, last week we've definitely had that, and last week at Bathurst did not disappoint. I probably should have spent some time this week putting some replays together. That was we expected an exciting race going into that, and it did not disappoint. And Nathan Dowd just put on a good performance there. Stayed off the wall, stayed out of the water, and that was really the key last week. Was that those little puddles of water just really threw a wrinkle into that, and some drivers just really struggled with it. But it looks like here tonight we are rain free.
Yeah. Current air temperature 20.2 degrees centigrade. Track temperature 21.6. In other words, 68 degrees Fahrenheit track temp, air temp 69.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Just found out the metric temperature setting on the display on SDK for the first time, so I can actually do it manually rather than having to refer to a graphic of some kind. Well, there you go. As they say, well, what was this phrase you used before we went live? Oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, sometimes it's by finding things out. You do it on your own. So there we go. Partially cloudy here in Jerez, but still, nevertheless, it is going to be time we can see how close those barriers are. Very much like Mount Panorama 2 weeks ago, as we did see, as you rightly said. Yes, there was a lot of rainfall. There was a lot of people getting a bit, let's just say, they were trying to channel their inner Gymkhana, Travis Pastrana skill set. We did see some great saves. We did see some big wrecks, however. I mean, Walker Carroll going into Kenny Richards with nowhere to go on top of Brock's Skyline. Yeah, that was not pretty, let's just say.
No, that was a big one. And like I said, I wish I'd have grabbed that. Wish I'd have been working a little bit harder this week and grabbed the replay of that, because that was something. Would have been a good clip to start the show off with.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. That one, Chris. I mean, yeah, we could have done that, but you know what? We've got other things that we do can concentrate on outside of sim racing. But thank you to everyone that's joining us on the JP Broadcasting Network. So Porsche Pace Car is out there. It will be the GTPs that will lead us to green. Just waiting for Rob Tinsey and Sheldon Rosenbach to join us on the track there. There we go. So Tinsey now populates the penultimate starting position in LMP2. Just waiting for Sheldon Rosenbach. He's got much longer before we do set the cars in motion. It will be a full pace lap of the 2.75 circuit. So that is pole position on the massive 7.7 did see how impressive it can be, especially when it's trying to run out of the pressure on the looks like Sheldon Rosenbach might not take to the win. Might start from pit lane, as we will be getting the Porsche pace car gets us underway on our formation lap here at Jerez, and it's going to be an interesting one. You can see a lot of single file racing, but then what we also find in these series as well, Chris, is the amount of times that it ends up being that the back market traffic is caught very, very quickly.
Yeah, and that is always the trick here. We don't have a big field of GTD cars to get through, but it's still a challenge for the GTP cars and the LMP2 to navigate that traffic. And then, we see so often that the GTD class in here and the GTEM, these guys are running so tight together that when the GTP guys kind of come up on them, they're in a pack already. So just kind of finding their way through there is going to be the trick. And we'll see how that plays out here today, because as you said, it is a pretty narrow racetrack, since it's mostly used for motorcycles, and there are some barriers along that first section of the racetrack. So we're just going to find out who can negotiate the traffic and who can stay on pace and keep their head on straight.
Yeah, I've just heard, I think Brian Bennett also might be on his travels as well, so sometimes this does happen where, he says that I'm in Alabama traveling out to Arizona, so hopefully Brian will have you back for next time out. But as you can see, they are weaving from side to side, 4 sectors for the drivers to contend with. As Brandon Wilson, the number 4 Hyperion Racing BMW MV8 Hybrid, which sure that at some point in the not too distant future, with the 2026 updates to the car that has now been showcased at the recent Rolex 24 at Daytona, slightly smaller kidney grills, unlike the spacious ones that we've got on this variant of the car. Of course, if anyone might remember the M8 GTE, as they used to call the big boy, with the amount of memes where the BMW was always made bigger than everything else out on track. So the nostrils on the 2026 updated car are a lot less prominent as what we see on Brandon Wilson's vehicle, but once again it is going to be BMW versus Caddy versus Acura, and it's an all Dallara P217 LMP2 field. There's Robert Cast running under Fury Simsport, but also aligned with the GT Dynamic squad. Very, very capable when it comes to running in GT or GT3 machinery, if you will. But very shortly we'll be coming to the end of the pace lap. The lights are out on the safety car, and Brandon Wilson just waiting for his opportunity, because as soon as that pace car dives in, we will be getting ready to go green here at Jerez. And very soon it's about the case of whether Brandon Wilson can get the jump, or does Nathan Dowd catch him napping. Pace car in the pits, as we are ready and set to go here at Jerez for this round of the series. Round 9, Season 15. Autobahn Sportscar Challenge comes out of the final corner at Lorenzo. We are now on our way to green. And there it is. Green flag will now wave very shortly. And there we go. Straight away, Brandon Wilson into the first corner as they go up the hill. And then it's the short blast up to turn 2. Robert Cast, Bradley Haley will bring us to green in GTD and GTD AM. Bradley Haley trying to see if he can get the jump on the Aston Martin, the number 42. But Robert Cast going towards the outside of Brandon Wilson already has got a second lead within the first half of the lap. Meantime, a little bit further back, Samuel de Oliveira and Mark Kudrowski have got through, have kept themselves ahead of Chris Sherburne. Dale Green brings up the rear, as already Walker Carroll has got Kadin Richardson breathing down the back of his race overalls, and Robert Tinsley in close proximity in the LMP3 top 3 battle. They're dropping Mo Islam from Composite Performance a little bit as they go down the hill, and a lot of tight technicality, a lot of runoff area, but there's a lot of gravel, or kitty litter as I like to call it, to the outside of these runoff areas, as we see Kadin Richardson trying to get through on Walker Carroll from Fury Simsport, and Kadin Richardson got a snap of oversteer, had to correct instantly, but he still keeps himself on the back rear wing, or the back wing of Walker Carroll at high speed through the right-hander. They are really pushing the limits of adhesion as we are already getting towards the end of the opening lap. Bradley Haley in the Sector 5 Haley Agency Mustang losing distance. And remember what happened at Mount Panorama. Samuel de Oliveira was actually in front of Bradley Haley for the majority of the race. So the two Mustangs, again, both of them as aerodynamics as brick on a fence, are still very clean when it comes to putting the power down. But Robert Cast just using the prowess handling of that Aston Martin, and he's built up a bit of a gap. It's about 8 and a bit tenths of a second between him and Bradley Haley. Is still Kadin Richardson trying to get through on Walker Carroll, who's just parking the car exactly where he needs to.
Yeah, Walker looking really strong here so far. Everybody getting kind of single filed out. Kadin got a new paint job there this week. That looks pretty sharp, but Walker looks to have the pace, but Kadin Richardson all over the back of him here. I expect these two to be 1-2 here for most of this race, the way they're looking, but you know, is Tinsley and Islam not falling too far back? We might have a pretty good race in the LMP2 here before it's all over with, but I'm also going to keep my eye on Bradley Haley and Robert Cass. There's only 2 GTD cars, but they're both fast drivers, and we should see some good competition between the two of them as the hour progresses.
Well, obviously with no Paul Slavonic, this is going to give Samuel de Oliveira the opportunity to take the series lead potentially at the end of this round of the series. As we again see Walker Carroll, he's just thinking of where he's needing to go, whether he goes left, whether he goes right, to try and break the toe that Kadin Richardson has behind him. Meantime, Brandon Wilson has got a lead of just over 2.1 seconds over Nathan Dowd. Dominic Dernberg is a further 3.4 seconds back. Carroll, Richardson and Tinsley covered by about less than 1.6 seconds. As again, you can just see, as you rightly said, yeah, new paint job for Kadeen Richardson. That black and that gold shimmering in the Spanish sun, despite the fact that the circuit is partially cloudy, but there are blue skies up above in the sky. But again, look, Samuel de Oliveira, I'm looking at his lap times. De Oliveira at the minute is running quite comparatively to Bradley Haley, so the Portuguese driver, who at this moment for him, where he lives in Portugal, it is the same time as it is for me, 2:45 in the morning, and he's out here at Jerez trying to close on in to Bradley Haley, but he is really pulling away. He's got a 5-second lead over Mark Kudrowski already, so de Oliveira, I think it's a case of he's just got to run his own race, not worry about what's happening behind him, but then concentrate on the two overall GTD leaders, Cast and Haley. But Cast again just proving a point in that twin turbo 4-litre V8 Aston Martin, that he's here not to just make up the numbers, and with Carter Cunningham not here tonight, well, that might help him in terms of the championship side of things.
Yeah, and like you said, you watch Samuel right here. Got a pretty big gap back to Kudrowski. He's got his sights there on his fellow GTD drivers in Cass and Haley. He's going to see if he can take the win overall here in the GTD, not just the M class here. So, but he's doing a really good job here, hanging on to the back of Haley. But we keep looking up here at Carroll and Richardson. I'm not sure if he has a little bit better pace, and Carroll's kind of holding him up right here, or he's just kind of waiting for his spot. But you know, Walker's been really consistent as of late, and he's looking really good so far here today.
Yeah, Walker Carroll, who's also been racing in the Sim Racing Republic Sportscar Championship in the LMP2 division, has had his fair share of peaks of troughs in that series, which I think is very soon going to be coming to its end. And I think their next round is actually the 4 hours here at Jerez, I think, which is this coming Saturday. So at least in some respects for Walker, this could be quite a good tune-up race for him. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, this is quite relative to doing you know, if you've got the full amount of gas in the tank, then you're able to run for the best part of an hour, so that would be quite conducive to a 4-hour endurance race later on. But Chris Sherburn starting to close that gap on Mark Kudrowski, and took just over 1/10 of a second out of him on that previous lap. Meantime, Nathan Dowd is starting to close on in on the lead of Brandon Wilson. It's gone down to about 2.9 seconds. Nathan Dowd now has the fastest lap of the race, a 1:27.58. Looking at the LMP2's fastest driver in that is current race leader Walker Carroll. Robert Cast, well, no surprises, fastest in the GTDs. De Oliveira, I mean, he's outpacing his colleagues in the GTD AM division by at least a second and a half. And you might say it's been pretty uneventful so far in the first 6.5 minutes, folks, but let me guarantee you this: when we get to the pit stops, it can be the case that drivers might make mistakes, whether they decide if they haven't unchecked the tyre box, and whether they've unfortunately sped into pit lane, sped out of pit lane, or cross the white line, because it's a very, very interesting, it's a long pit lane here at Jerez, because you go into the final hairpin, and you've got to be very careful, as we saw just at the end of qualifying. Nathan Dowd absolutely mistiming the braking point and hitting the hitting the hairpin and going off track. So it is a very, very long pit lane, especially just depending on where your marker is and where your pit box is in the pit lane itself. So we've got a ways left to go. I mean, we're 7.5 minutes in, and now Kadeen Richardson's close proximity to Walker Carroll has somewhat been thrown away like water under the bridge, because Walker Carroll has now got a 1.7 second advantage in the LMP2 side of things. Samuel de Oliveira now finds himself 7.5 seconds ahead of Mark Kudrowski. Chris Sherburn is closing, so Chris, we have seen very close to getting possibly a win this series, but he's right with the 00992 Porsche GT3R of Mark Kudrowski, who's just gone off, and Kudrowski has a tank slapper And, well, that was cat-like reflexes for Chris Sherburn. He managed to pull to the right-hand side as Kudrowski went off into the gravel. And here comes Dale Green. It's two's company, three's a crowd all of a sudden for second, third and fourth in GTD Am. Kudrowski could have lost it big time and ended up in the barriers, but he was lucky to hold on to it.
Yeah, we're looking for probably the best bet on the racetrack right now is for 11th, 12th, and 13th overall back here in the back of the field of the GTD Am cars between Kudrowski, Sherburn, and Green, as they're nose to tail. About the closest battle we have going for sure, but you know, Sherburn, I think, looked for a way around Kudrowski after that mistake, but Kudrowski got back on, kind of blocked that runoff, and Sherburn did a really good job just getting on the brakes, not running in the back of him. Going to live to fight another day here. We still have 50 minutes left to go. There's no point in doing anything too crazy at that time.
And Kudrowski again flaunting with the gravel with the right rear tyre as they go down the hill, and still keeps a hold of that second position ahead of Sherburn and Dale Green. So you've got rear engine, rear wheel drive, mid engine, rear wheel drive, front engine, rear wheel drive. So three different powertrain layouts in the GTD classification as we are fast approaching the first sixth of this race being completed. Meantime, Robert Tinsey has got Mo Islam closing in. The gap between them is about 0.4 of a second. And when you look at the success rate that has happened so far, Mo Islam was our winner, and he actually got a 0x and fastest lap of the race at Mount Panorama, which gave him a few more points in addition to the points you get for winning a race here in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. And more to the point, well, the next double points opportunity will be at Sebring in a month's time on the 2nd of March when we go to Sebring, and that's going to be a rather interesting race in its own right, because we're right on board with the number 91, the man from Canada, for composite performance. You can just see how much of a different racing line Mo Islam might take to Robert Tinsey, and they've been quite comparative. That gravel, that's going to be a lot of dust and gravel being kicked up onto the circuit as we are past the 10-minute mark, so just under 50 minutes to go. And two main battles that we're seeing. Well, Mark Kudrowski's managed to get the wind beneath his rear wing on that Porsche. He's now got a little bit more of an advantage over Chris Sherburn, which is 0.8 of a second, and within the first 11 minutes, there we go. Brandon Wilson gets through on Green, Sherburn and Kudrowski. So both of those three GTD AM cars are now lapped by the race leader. Nathan Dowd is closely coming up onto them in the 07 Cadillac V Series R, as Dale Green in the yellow submarine Aston Martin gets out of the way, but Sherburn right with Kudrowski now. So Nathan, you've got to really pick your moments to try and get through on the two GTD AMs in front of you, because that is not going to be easy. But there is the unwritten sports car rule that if you are the quicker car, you have to make sure that the overtakes are done safely. Chris Sherburn gets out of the way, kicks up the gravel whilst doing so, along with the dust into the local Spanish atmosphere. And, well, good call there by Kudrowski. Gets out of the way and then lets Nathan Dowd go. And Nathan has lost 2.2 seconds to Brandon Wilson, who's got a 6.1 second advantage now. As all, Mo.
That's two laps in a row, same spot.
Oh, I know, same spot. Call your jets there, Mo. We don't want to have anything happen to you after what was a spectacular victory for the 91, after dramas for the rest of the LMP2 field last time out 2 weeks ago at Mount Panorama. But as we say, never, always expect the unexpected, you say, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and Mo showed just how good he was last week in the slick, so he's just going to go out there and play around the gravel a little more. And here he is up alongside of Tinsey as we go back to this. He is looking for a way around there. Maybe he's just getting a little extra traction out there in the gravel. There he goes again. So it seems to be working for him.
Yeah, well, he's got to watch his off tracks. That's got to be the main thing, because otherwise he's, we've seen some moments. I mean, obviously we've seen Paul Slavonic quite recently decide to do a little bit of GT4 racing quite recently on another league that you and I commentate on when we run on Tuesday nights US time. and he had a pretty impressive debut in that series. But more to the point, it's good that we have got opportunities where some of the other drivers get their 5 minutes of fame here on the screen, and there we see second, third and fourth in GTD and despite the fact they're 2.2 seconds apart from Kudrowski down to green, we still have, I think, a rather exciting and an intensity building battle for second, third and fourth, whereas Samuel de Oliveira he's checked out. He's way up the road.
Yeah, he's actually still within pace. Actually, he's only about 6 seconds behind that battle with Haley. So Oliveira just kind of out there on a Sunday drive here on a Monday night in the States, a Tuesday morning over in Europe. But got some good prowess here today, and I don't think he's on his way for another win here if he can just not make any mistakes. Already 15 minutes into this race, and Samuel's looking really good out there.
Yep, so, right, we are coming up to the 15-minute mark, so nearly a quarter of the way through. Let's take you through the running order of respective classes as they stand. So Brandon Wilson, after nearly 15 minutes, has a 6.4 second advantage over the Sector 5 provided by Sector 5 Haley Agency Canny of Nathan Down, and then a further 15.8 seconds back. It's the Composite Performance 913 of Canada's Dominic Dernberg. Walker Carroll for Fury Simsport leads the way in LMP2 ahead of current points leader Killian Richardson in second position. Robert Tinsey from Satellite Racing is a further 4.6 behind, but he's got a very hard charging Mo Islam in the 91 Composite Performances Dallara LMP2, which just goes wide. Robert Cast leading under the Fury Simsport banner for GTD ahead of Sector 5 Haley Agency Mustang 428 of Bradley Haley. Samuel de Oliveira in the number 522, the man from Portugal, leads the way by over 12 seconds from Mark Kudrowski, who at the moment in the 00992 Porsche GT3R is yet to be able to shake the 007 Acura of Gone Road Racing's Chris Sherburn. And then Dale Green in the 979 Aston Martin V8 Vantage, the man from Antarctica, rounds out the final runner in this 13 strong grid. So all drivers are looking at this. I sense here, Chris, as a bit of a let's just gather the points kind of situation. If you'd agree, I would pretty much agree with you on saying from that part.
Yeah, just gathering the points. Yeah, just gonna everybody kind of capitalize on a small field here tonight. Everybody's gonna capitalize on getting maximize as many points as they can. And we're looking at this battle here one more time with Tinsey and Islam. Looks like Mo might be staying on the racetrack this lap. Might have listened to you over the broadcast about worrying about his off tracks there, but so far Robert doing a good job of holding off. This is a good battle right here on the racetrack. And a while back ago you talked about how much time Dowd lost on that lap traffic to Wilson, and it just, we talked about pre-race, it just depends on where you catch those lap traffic and how you get through them. And unfortunately Nathan had been making up a little bit of ground on Wilson, but they caught those GTD cars at the wrong time, and that put Dowd back now almost 7.5 seconds at this point.
Yeah, definitely. It can be the case of how hard do you want to push the envelope, and Brandon Wilson now, in comparison with Dale Green, is about half a lap behind him in terms of track position. More to the point, it is going to be the case that Dale Green's going to go, what? 2 laps down? Oh no. Yeah, but that's the thing, when you're in looking at the top speed traps, we're looking at about 170 miles an hour plus for the GTPs. LMP2's looking, Mo Islam's one of the quickest out there in terms of top speed. Well, Robert Tinsey's hit the trap at 158 miles an hour, which isn't that far ahead. Robert Cast is actually the quickest out of all GTD machinery tonight. He's just done a 153.5 as Mo Islam again has just gone off the track, and that was longer than what it has been so far. Yep, Mo has just lost out. He was about 6/10. That gap has grown by 3.2 on just a big old moment there for Mo Islam in the 91 Composite Performance car. And here is the replay. So he's chasing Robert Tinsey They're going to go through the left-hander here as they're
Oh, he's
going
got a
down
good
the
run.
hill. Oh, he had a good run. Too much momentum, I'm afraid, there, I think, for Mo Islam. And through the kitty litter he goes, kicking up the dust with the rear wheels. And that is not how you negotiate. And look, he just the rear diffuser just goes, here, everybody, have some gravel.
Ah, you see,
And it's like it's like, you know, those machines that, you know, like, say, for those people that can't be bothered to throw tennis balls for their dogs, where it's like the tennis ball machine, like it just
yeah,
spits
the
the
launcher.
ball out.
Yeah.
That's what Mo Richardson's diffuser has just become, a gravel velocity engager, and it's just gone like, hello, gravel.
Yeah, looking at that from the in car, it almost looked like that was a little bit of a defensive move, maybe from Mo. He looked like he got in the corner a little too deep and got on the brakes too hard, and that kind of chased it off the racetrack. It was either that or run into the back of Robert Kinsey. So I'm gonna give Mo credit there for maybe a little mistake in driving the car into the corner too hard, but then doing everything he can to not cause an accident there with Robert.
Yeah, and well, Mark is not giving up second place too easily from Chris Sherburn, but we've seen Chris really come into his form over the last few races in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. And more to the point, well, he's got Robert Tinsey right behind him in the Dallara LMP2. Chris goes slightly off track, and that's not easy, but he lets through the Satellite Racing number 82 Dallara. And looking at it from this perspective, with regards to Chris, he has had a win. Well, Chris has had a win this series. He won at Long Beach, if people might remember. And in the last 4 races, he's had a first at Long Beach, a 6th at Road America, 2nd at the Algarve, and then picked up 3rd last time out. So he's not adverse to getting a podium or 2, as the man from Goldschmidt Racing, the 007 Acura. With a number like that, I would have thought he might have gone for the Aston Martin and said, well, I might want to become Autobahn Sportscar Challenge's GTD AM variant of James Bond, maybe. But, well, Chris, you disappointed us. You went with the Acura. But still, the Acura is a pretty solid weapon in its own right.
Oh, for sure. And Chris is doing a really good job of that. He's had some really good times throughout the season, for sure. And, you know, I'm wondering right here if he doesn't, you know, he's been behind Mark here for this whole race, and at times has showed some pretty decent pace to be with him, but where he's really lost off is when these faster cars are coming through. He's had to drop back a little bit. So I'm wondering if maybe Chris doesn't maybe try to undercut on a pit stop here or something to have a good outlap to kind of get some clean air. See if he can get back up in the second around Kudrowski. But right now, Mark's doing a good job holding him off. And Samuel de Oliveira now 13.5 seconds to the good. Just out there cruising around. This is his race for sure. Unless he drives off the racetrack and hits something. You know, I was looking at looking at our event log here for this race, and last week I couldn't hit enough replays, and I'm looking at it this week, and the only incident on the whole thing is Mo driving off into the gravel.
Yeah, and well, Samuel de Oliveira's now got Gideon Richardson behind him, and nice bit of spatial awareness there by the man from Portugal. Let's Gideon Richardson go through, who's now finding himself 6.3 seconds behind Walker Carroll from Fury Simsport. There's Nathan Dowd coming through the final corner at Lorenzo, and will now come across the line. 8.4 seconds is the lead between Brandon Wilson and the man who took his first win of the series last time out and has brought himself into the championship hunt, so to speak. Dominic Dernberg also, you know, Dominic's having a race all on his own, and sometimes that's all you need to help build your confidence, especially at a track that not many people in this series have actually run at before. But still, to have 3 different manufacturers represented in GTP is still nice, because then at least you get a nice little differential on the machinery, a bit like with what we've got apart from the LMP2s, because everyone has to run the Dallara P217, whereas in GTD we've got Aston Martin, we've got Ford, we've got Porsche, Kudrowski and Sherburn both go off at the same points on the circuit. So we've got 2 Aston Martins, 2 Fords, a Porsche and an Acura. We were set to have a Corvette on the grid, but unfortunately, Sheldon Rosenbaum, I don't think, made it in time for quali and has ended up not being able to join us for this round of the series. If you are watching along on the JP Broadcasting Network and you haven't already subscribed, please give us a subscribe, hit that notification bell. There's plenty of racing coming up in the weeks and months here in the world of sim racing, so plenty for you all to watch. As Kudrowski gets a bit of a tank slapper on that particular occasion. He nearly lost it.
You know, I wanted to jump back. I wanted to jump in the car here. That's something I noticed. So we're in the car here with Brandon Wilson. And one thing I'm noticing here, so I spent 25 plus years of my life driving dirt tracks here in the United States, all over the place. And all I had to look at on my dash, if you wanted to call it a dash, is I had a starter button, the ignition switch, and I had a brake bias dial. And just look at all the stuff these guys got to look at inside these cars. It's just amazing to me, just all of the different adjustments they can make, you know. And I know this isn't as much in the, but you actually do have these kind of things. A lot of these guys will have these button boxes and all kinds of different stuff next to them where they can make these adjustments. And it's just really crazy to see the difference here from the different types of racing that I've seen and been involved with over the years.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, say, ABS traction control, you know, sort of like, say, maps for fuel for the engine. There's so much that you can, you know, the way that these steering wheels are just getting so technical. Like, you'll have the usual iRacing HUD up on your screens, but then you'll have these drivers that might have something like the top of the line Aztec Sim Sports wheel, which I had the opportunity of getting a go on, and it was one of these ones that the actual dial itself would rotate with the way things were going. As that was a bit close there for Brandon Wilson trying to squeeze through on Mark Kudrowski. And like the attention to detail that we're actually saying in the sim racing one. I mean, if people might remember when the first ever crossover between real life and sim racing was through the collaboration between Fanatec on the M4 GT3, that they'd actually there was a tie-in that you could take the steering wheel from the official car produced by BMW Motorsport, stick it on your sim rig with your direct drive and use exactly the same steering wheel. And that point was proven by the likes of Augusto Farfus, former BMW junior who's now become more of a works driver for BMW, the likes of Max Hesse, amongst others, and where they were, Dan Harper's another one that's part of the BMW Motorsport crew. Of course, they've just recently had another South African join the family, as you've got the two Van der Linde brothers, Sheldon and Kelvin, and now Jordan Pepper has made the switch from Lamborghini to the Mites of Munich. Meantime, Samuel de Oliveira is now finding himself a little bit further. Well, he's finding that the gap between him and Mark Kudrowski is coming back. Now, why is this happening, you might be asking, folks, is mainly because the fact that the LMP... Right, okay, first pit stop has just been engaged just before the halfway point. Nathan Dowd is our first driver in. So he's decided to bite the bullet early to see if he can maybe get an undercut on Brandon Wilson, because he's just done a pit stop of 20.1 seconds. But it is going to be a long run to the end of the pit lane, which means that you're coming into the exit, well, you're coming into pretty much the apex of turn 1, which means that Brandon Wilson now has a lead of 37.6 seconds. So Mo Islam becomes the first of the LMP2 drivers to dive into pit lane. I would think that the GTDs are going to be the drivers that will pit last, as we always have seen, Chris, when it comes to evaporating fuel from the tank.
Yeah, GTDs should be coming in. We usually see them come in probably anywhere between 2 to 5 laps later than the LMP2 and the GTP cars. So we'll see what Robert Cass can do out here. Right now he's got a good comfortable lead over Bradley Haley. And you were talking kind of about the history of some of the sim racing wheels and stuff. One of my first sim rig it wasn't really a rig, it was a wheel built into a desk at the time. It goes back to about like 1997, 1998. And where all these the wheels and stuff now are direct drive or gear drive, ours were bungee cords. I actually broke a bungee cord one night, went out in my garage, grabbed a bungee cord off the wall, and fixed my wheel with it so I could keep racing that day. So, yeah, technology's really come a long way. I need to get out to one of these sim racing expos and see a lot of this new stuff that's coming out.
Yeah, well, of course, the Sim Racing Expo done by the company out of Fürth, just outside of Nuremberg in Bavaria. They're hosting the Sim Racing Expo at Charlotte, North Carolina. Funny enough, the same weekend as I think it's isn't it the Coke 600? I think that's normally there every year during the month of May. So. And they'll be hosting their next event in Germany late October in Frankfurt, which is about a couple of hours away. So that's based in Hesse, in the middle part of Germany, about 2 hours away from Nuremberg and about 2.5 hours away from Munich. So there's quite a lot going on. There's also the Sim Gaming Expo that's normally happening in the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois. That's normally September time. So there's plenty of expos coming up, and then of course there's the sim racing component of PRI in Indianapolis every December just before the holiday season. But we are at the halfway point of this race, and there is Robert Cast 5 seconds ahead of Bradley Haley, who in turn is about 18 seconds ahead of Samuel de Oliveira, who still is the GTD AM leader. Mark Kudrowski has just pitted in the 00 992 Porsche. He is on his marks in the pit lane. Wondering how long it's going to take to refuel the car. 22.22 seconds for Kudrowski as he completes his 18th lap of the race. Brandon Wilson now on the cusp of completing lap 21 of the race, which puts him nearly a lap ahead of Nathan Dowd, who's a minute and and there you see how close it is on the rejoin Expo 92, which is turn number 1. Walker Carroll about to close in on Mark Kudrowski.
Yeah, poor timing there for Walker to come out right behind the GTD car. He's going to lose a little bit of time here.
Yeah. Oh dearie me, that just goes to show how close is Walker Carroll to the outside, and gets through on Mark Kudrowski. But then it's a case of, has Kudrowski done the undercut on everybody else in the GTD Anfield? That's going to be the big question, because now the gap between him and Samuel de Oliveira, that is a big old chunk of time. It's nearly 50 seconds. Chris, with regards to Mark Kudrowski, what was his total time from pit lane entry to pit lane exit on that one?
53.9.
So, looking at it from this perspective, so de Oliveira, that is going to, de Oliveira at the moment is 52 seconds ahead. So you might be able to fuel for maybe a couple of seconds less if you can get his pit stop to under 20 seconds, not including the transfer time. Then he might make it out ahead of Mark Kudrowski. But sometimes it can be the case that sometimes you will want to maybe overfuel by maybe a couple of additional seconds, just to give yourself that buffer so you don't run out before the checkered.
Yeah, definitely. And the nice thing, like you said, if you pit a lap or two later, you don't have to sit in the pits as long. And I'm not quite sure somebody's trying to look at like the last laps here, but it's taking a while to get around to get some comparison laps to see if Kudrowski's turning any faster than Samuel is. But we're gonna have to wait for a little bit. But yeah, that is kind of the nice thing about going a little bit longer. You're not sitting still quite as long, fueling up the car. So we'll see how this plays out for Samuel. But Mark definitely going to play a little different strategy here. See if he can hit a little bit sooner, undercut here, get kind of some clean air away from everybody, and let's see if Mark, if that's going to be a good choice for him or not here.
Yeah, so we are past the halfway point of the race. We are just hitting the 33 minute mark completed as Brandon Wilson continues to lead the way. Dominic Dernberg has just had a little bit of a moment. He has also been into pit lane, all kicking up the gravel, like lovely. It's another one that's going to be using their diffuser as a gravel dispenser onto the circuit. So, yeah, Dominic has only just come in 3 laps ago. And to be completely honest, sometimes, you know, when you've been in the pit stop, your tyres cool. Kadeen Richardson, now the next person to dive into pit lane in the LMP2 class. As Dominic Dernberg gets through on Mark Kajowski. We've not seen... right, leader is in. Leader is in overall. Brandon Wilson is now coming into pit lane. Of course, for those people wondering, why are the lights flashing? That is just a normal preset as, Kadeen Richardson's car has gone on the air jacks, I've seen. So has Brandon Wilson's. So whether... we have seen it before where drivers have taken one set of tyres on either side of the vehicle rather than taking all 4 based on how the tyres have degraded over the course of the race. Brandon Wilson, 21.15. So that is going to give us an indication on how quickly Nathan Dowd might catch him. Nathan Dowd's last lap was 1:28.1 as he makes his way through this very, very fast section. He's now coming down out of Ferrari into Lorenzo and through into the final corner. So let's see when the timing sort of resets itself, how big the gap will be as Walker Carroll pits from the LMP2 class lead with 25 minutes remaining. So the gap is at the moment still around, well, it's around about the 24-second mark. So Brandon Wilson weaving from side to side, so he has taken, I would imagine, he's gone deep on the brakes. That is not what he wanted to do there, and that is going to hemorrhage him a bit of time in comparison with Nathan Dowd. Robert Tinsey has also now pitted, was running P2 in the LMP2 side of things. So Dominic, the ledger is kind of being reset as Walker Carroll is in there 25.73 seconds, so that'll probably be around about a 55-second total time in the pits for the number 9 from Fury Simsport. So Kadeen Richardson is going to come through the final corner. This is going to be nip and tuck. I don't think, no, Robert Tinsey will end up coming back out in 3rd position as Kadeen Richardson comes across the line. He's got Brandon Wilson in tow going through into the first corner at Expo 92. And, Brandon Wilson has got the high beams on, saying to Kadeen Richardson, just let you know I'm there, son, don't worry, just make sure that if you do let me pass, make sure there's enough room. There we go, through goes the race leader. And yeah, Brandon did lose quite a bit of time by having that moment where he ran in deep, and that was at the corner now named after multi-time MotoGP race winner Danny Pedrosa. So Brandon now manages to get through. Who's just kicked up the dust again? More gravel's being thrown on the circuit by the Pez dispensing, the Pez dispensers.
I think that was Nathan
If anyone
Dowd.
might, yeah, I'm glad you laughed at that because you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't heard about Pez dispensers, oh my goodness, that was something that I still remember going into the local, like, you know, post office or the local like corner shop, and you'd see all these different Pez dispensers with like different faces on them, like you'd have Snoopy or Charlie Brown or something like that, and then all of a sudden you could dispense your sweets, and it was I think at one point it was quite cool in the playground that everyone had a different Pez dispenser, and you had a different flavour of those little sort of like square, you know, like square sweets with the round corners on them back in the day.
Yeah, and
Pez was a big thing back in the 80s, wasn't it?
oh yeah, but in like just everything, so many different things from the age back then. The value of some of those items really grown through the roof over the years. I really wish I would have kept all my old Pez dispensers, and probably instead of like throwing them across the ground or something when I was a kid or something silly. But some of those actually have quite a bit of value to them. But then you know, you never know what people are going to collect.
Yeah. like Star Wars figures. Mark Kudraski, however, has had a big off in the 00 Porsche. Dale Green has gone in. Oh dear, right, okay, it's down the hill through the sweeping left. Let's see, back end steps out. Oh dear, and around goes the Porsche. Porsche doing Porsche things here at Jerez, and well, what was a good start to the race. I mean, he was running second for the majority of it until he came into the pit lane. Mark Kudraski just turned it in, and the car decided, well, I'm not going to bite. And then the rear end went, hello, right, I'm going in front of the engine now. It's sort of like...
Yeah, he's fortunate there's a lot of gravel runoff right there. Didn't back into the wall, into the tire barrier, so able to keep going, but he did lose a lot of spots. He's now fourth overall, excuse me, third in the GTM. But look at Sherburne. Sherburne's still yet to pit at this time. Actually, yeah, Chris Sherburne's still yet to pit, so he's got the lead right now in the GTDM. And this, I'm sure he can't go all the way, but he is trying to stretch it here.
Yeah, there's Bradley Haley closing in on him quite quickly anyway. He's just come out after his pit stop on lap 23. So the GTD's leader is in. Robert Cars. Bradley Haley now has decided to pit, as we have just over 20 minutes remaining on the counter out of the 60. As Chris Sherburne makes his way to the top of the leaderboard. GTD, and there is Robert Cars now back out in number 42. Aston Martin. Please don't get confused with regards to the fact that he's got a GT Dynamics livery on there, on that Aston Martin. He is part of that team, but here at Autobahn, he is racing under the Fury Simsport banner, and it was only a matter of time before that wonderful Marlboro McLaren livery tribute that we saw on the Aston Martin earlier on in the season has had to make way for the GT Dynamics livery. So very much in the vein of McLaren Marlboro, well, when Marlboro was McLaren's title sponsor effectively in the 80s and the 90s, back when we had the likes of Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost, Gerhard Berger, and even in the mid-1990s, Nigel Mansell, after he had his stay in IndyCar and became the only person, I think, since then, when he went from Formula One with Williams, took the title in 1992, and then went to New and Haas in IndyCar the following year, and then took the title and never was able to take the win at the Brickyard for the Indianapolis 500, but still had 3 years at IndyCar, then came back to Formula One with McLaren's unusual, what they used to call the T-tray McLaren, because of the over the rear airbox, they used to have like an upper wing in front of the rear wing on the car, so they called it the T-tray McLaren, because you could put cups and saucers on there quite easily. And I was like thinking, well, that won't be aerodynamically efficient at about 200 miles an hour down the straightaway coming across the line.
Yeah, that's back before my days of being an F1 fan, but definitely interesting. I'm actually interested to see what's going to happen this season with F1 with all the changes they've made for this season, and especially with Cadillac joining the fray.
You know what? I'm really pleased that we've got two American teams in the series now. I mean, yes, of course, people might say, well, the only reason why the Cadillac's in there is because Liberty Media owns Formula One. Well, I think the thing is, when you look at what Cadillac have achieved in racing anyway in their own way, and when the V Series R has been competitive in both IMSA and in WEC, I think it was only a matter of time before Cadillac would make the decision to go into Formula One, and I think they've done a very good thing with signing two very experienced race-winning drivers from Checo Perez, and of course everyone's favourite fit, Valtteri Bottas, who's become more of an Aussie style fit, with a long. I think he's channeling his inner Keke Rosberg with the mullet and with the mustache as well. But to have two experienced drivers bring Cadillac's car to the grid has been a bit of a good thing. But yeah, Cadillac are also going to be developing their own power unit, which will be coming out, I think, for 2029. So just like TGR Haas. Run, of course, by the legendary Gene Haas himself, with Akio Komatsu behind behind the team, having replaced good old Gunther Steiner. I missed that guy in Formula 1, but now he's an owner of Tech 3 in Moto GP. So, but the thing is, I think now that we've got an 11th team in Formula 1, that's a good thing. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the new cars go at the official test, because Williams didn't make the shakedown in Barcelona at the tail end of last week. But still, nevertheless, we are coming towards the end of the race. Brandon Wilson has just set the fastest lap of anyone, 1:27.083, and his lap time was quicker by nearly 2.5 tenths than Nathan Dowd. The gap is now 27.8 seconds and climbing. I think if Nathan's not that careful, Brandon could be 30 seconds ahead of him across the line when we take the checkered in about 16 minutes, as Brandon gets through on Samuel de Oliveira, who at this moment in time is now Bradley Haley. I have just noticed his pit stop time is a 52.38. Now, I would imagine he must have gotten a penalty, maybe for speeding into pit lane.
He did have a black flag. I'm not sure what it was for, but more than likely it had to be for speeding.
That has put him right down smack bang at the bottom end of the GTD side of things, but nevertheless, Brandon Wilson is absolutely flying at the moment. He is not putting a foot wrong, so to speak, in the BMW MV8 Hybrid. I mean, look at how compliant that car is through the corners.
I'm looking at last lap. He was 4 seconds faster than Nathan Dowd on that last lap. Brandon is just getting around this place. I'm guessing maybe he has a little more experience here than the rest of the drivers, but he is definitely finding his pace here. Only 15 minutes left to go. Like you said, it's almost 30-second lead now back to Dowd.
That's basically 1/3 of a lap that he's got. Walker Carroll still continuing, and he's running P4 overall because of the fact we've only got 3 GTPs, but Walker's got a bit of a lead now, nearly 10 seconds over Clean Richardson. And then, well, after his unfortunate demise with a penalty in the pit lane, Bradley Haley is all I'm going to say is this: Bradley Haley is actually a lap down on Robert Tinsey. Yeah, he's just over a lap down. So Bradley Haley, okay, yes, he's going to take points for second. He's going to bring it home, but that's not what you want to have happen at this part of this stage of the series, to have a penalty that's substantial just by a sheer mistake, and it can happen.
Yeah, it looked like, looking at the event log, I went back and looked at it, it looked like he had a little bit of an off track as he was coming into the pits and probably got into the gravel there or somewhere, and it just wasn't able to get it slowed up, and that's what probably gave him that black flag. But yeah, he's falling way off the pace here. The only good thing for Bradley is there's only 2 GTD cars here, so at this point, no matter how far back he is, he's going to come home with second place in points. But Robert Cass has just got an easy drive here. A little over 13 minutes left to go. He is a minute 24 seconds to the good with his lead over Haley, so he can just about probably have a spot at tee up there and just relax.
Binky's out, while sipping on his Earl Grey, But more to the point, I think the thing is, this has been one of those races that, okay, yes, you might all think it's been a little bit stale, but one of the things that has interested me in how calm a lot of the drivers have been, they haven't taken many risks. And that is the key point when we're getting towards the tail end of the season here, Chris, especially when we've got the penultimate round of the Autobahn Endurance Cup coming up in about 4 weeks' time. This is really just helping the drivers get into that groove where they really need to be. You've got to be sort of kind of razor sharp focused in getting yourself ready for the final few races, and that's when you take the drop scores into consideration. It's all about, are you in the right place, right time where you need to be if you think you've got a chance of winning your class in this series. And then the biggest thing is also the team game for the team's championship. That's another thing as well that these drivers are having to also consider at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. And these kind of races are actually the hardest to stay out there and not make any mistakes. It's really easy to stay focused when you're in a tight battle. You got a lot of cars around you, and you're going back and forth. But in these kind of situations where just about look at all the cars on the track right now, everybody's got some separation, and just trying to stay out there, keep your focus, and not make any mistakes. Normally in my little bit of time of road racing, that's usually when I start driving off into the gravel. So cheers to these guys doing a great job here tonight, and just going to capitalize and get whatever points they can, and we'll come back in a couple of weeks to Indy.
Yeah, in the meantime, over the course of the last 48.5 minutes, the track temperature has climbed to 24.4 degrees centigrade track temp. Air temp has pretty much stayed the same. But there is the man who is on course for another win in the GTD AM side of things. So Samuel de Oliveira so far this season has taken 2 wins. Road America, Matt Panorama. He has got a 0 against his drop scores at the moment. There are 2 drop scores that the drivers will have over the course of the 14 rounds of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, which also include 4 of them being part of the Autobahn Endurance Cup. So you look at it from this perspective. Paul Slavonic, the first season opener at Daytona back on the penultimate week of September, then did the double at Road Atlanta, 3rd at Motegi, 1st at Mosport, 4th at Long Beach, Road America 3rd, and then 5th and 6th respectively at the Algarve and Mount Panorama. And when it comes to, let's say for instance, Brandon Wilson, 1st at Road Atlanta, didn't make it to the 1st round at Daytona, 5th at Motegi, 2nd at Mosport, 1st at Long Beach, 1st at Road America, 1st at the Algarve, and then ended up being P3 after his double wreck at Mount Panorama just a couple of weeks ago in LMP2. And Kadeem Richardson won the first 3 rounds of the series, so Daytona, Road Atlanta, Motegi, 4th at Mosport, as Robert Gast. He's lost it at exactly the same place that Mark Kudrowski did a little bit later on, but lights up the rear tyres after hanging on for a Code Brown clean up on aisle 3 moment. So he manages to get things going again, but he's not having to worry about Bradley Haley, who's now closing in, funnily enough, on Mark Kudrowski. So the gap between them is about half a second. As I was saying before, we were slightly rudely interrupted there by Robert Cast. Kadeem Richardson, a win at Daytona, a win at Road Atlanta, then Motegi, then Long Beach, then the Algarve. Every other race that he's been in, he's placed 4th. Yeah. The other winners that we've had is Mark Kudrowski pulls out of the way, and then here comes Brandon Wilson on cue to split the pair as well. But looking at it from this perspective as well, that we have had multiple winners this series in LMP2. Mo Islam being the latest at Mount Panorama. It was Walker Carroll who took the win at Road America. It was funnily enough, it was Matt Brewer who took the win at Mosport in the LMP2s. GTDs, the winners that we've had, it was Brian Bennett, because he was GTD out until he got promoted mid-season, but first at Daytona, and then it was Robert Cast who took 3 wins on the bounce at Road Atlanta, Motegi, Mosport. Then it was Eric Staropoli in the Lamborghini that took the win at Long Beach. Then it went back to Robert Cast. Carter Kundigan won last time out, and then Robert won at Mount Panorama. And then you look at GTD AM. Paul Slavonic has taken a first at Daytona, Road Atlanta, then a third at Motegi. That round was won by David Fernandez in the Porsche. Mosport, it went to Slavonic. Then it was Chris Sherburne who took the win at Long Beach. Samuel de Oliveira took the win at Road America. Then it was Rich Minkler who won at the Algarve in what was a very, very saturated Algarve circuit, according to Mal. And then it was de Oliveira that won again last time out. So we're into the final 7 minutes of the race, and it has been, you might say yes, it's been a bit, I don't like to repeat myself too often when it comes to a race being processional in some case, but as you rightly said, Chris, you made a very, very good point, whereby that when there's not much racing going on, you're intently focused on running your own race, as if to say, score the points, get yourself a good flow going, and sometimes that's the thing coming out of a pit stop. We saw that with Brandon Wilson and Robert Cast. You know, they might both be leading their classes, but they have both had a little bit of drama thrown into the mix to sort of wake themselves up a little bit through no fault, through an indirect and unforced error of their own.
Yeah, I think that little snap around from Cass kind of woke him up. Fortunately, he had a minute and a half to the good back to Haley, and he only lost about 5 or 6 seconds there. So Cass kind of get himself gathered up. Wilson still out there laying down some lap times. His last lap time was a second better than anybody else in the field right now. So Brandon's kind of gathered himself up after a little bit off. But he's now 37 seconds back to Nathan Dowd. So Wilson just putting on a clinic out here today.
Yeah, we're heading to the final 5.5 minutes. The series heads over to round 10 in just a fortnight to the famed Brickyard, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we'll be heading on the road course for 60 minutes before Sebring in 4 weeks' time for the penultimate round of the Autobahn Sport Endurance Cup, and that will be round 11 of the series, as we get this wonderful helicam shot with our good friend Dale Green in the yellow submarine Aston Martin, as it's been monikered since the time we saw the car on the grid. Wonderful to see that car. You can't exactly miss that livery on the vehicle as he makes his way through the final corner. So does Bradley Haley in the Sector 580 Agency 428, and Bradley Haley about 3.6 seconds behind Dale Green in the 979 Aston Martin. More to the point, Brandon Wilson, as you said, has rightly been putting on a clinic. He's running in the low 1 minute 28, so all he needs to do now is just cross the T's, dot the I's, bring the car home for the W.
Yeah, it's just out there on cruise control right now. Matter of fact, most of our leaders are right now. Walker Carroll, he's got about 11 seconds back to Kadeen, so Kadeen's had good pace all season long, but the last couple of races are dropping off just a little bit. Walker is looking to bring home the win here today. And looking at Samuel de Oliveira back here in the GTM, he is really setting good pace here today. But Sherburne doing a really great job. Hold on a second, going to come home with another podium.
Yeah, and it will be a podium for Dale Green, let's not forget. Now I'm going to have a look through his previous results, and Dale Green has had a podium. He actually finished P3 at Long Beach. Other than that, he's had a 9th at the season opener at Daytona, 4th at Road Atlanta, 8th at Motegi, 4th at Mosport, and yeah, Long Beach is his only podium of the series. He's had top 5s for the last 3 rounds, 5th at Road America, Mount Panorama was 4th at Portimao, so there are always those little opportunities, and I think the biggest loser in the GTD AM class is Mark Kudrowski. He was running P2 for a long time, and then a big drama for the 00 has put him right stone dead last at GTD AM, and will be the last runner coming across the line as we have 3 minutes remaining on the counter. The way that Brandon Wilson is going around this racetrack at the minute, I think we might be probably on course for 2 more laps remaining. About 50% of the way through lap 39 as we speak, so 41 laps the 2.751 mile circuit will be completed by our race leader come race's end, and that equates to, it says whilst trying to do that on a calculator, thank goodness, not with a pen and paper, just shy of 112.8 miles will be completed of racing by our leader once we get to the checkered flag. Walker Carroll has led pretty much from lights out and put it on pole in the class. It's also the fastest out there on track with regards to the class itself, a 1 minute 30.201. So we'll pick up points for pole position and for the fastest lap. Whether he has a 0x at the end of this will depend on how many off tracks he's had, so he'll gain another 2 points. 25 for a win, point for pole position, point for fastest lap, as Robert Cast quickly gets out of the way as Kadeem Richardson slingshots up the inside there. So nice spatial awareness by both drivers to give each other room. Brandon Wilson now on the penultimate lap of this race, as the overcastness is making the track look a little bit darker here at the Circuito de Jerez Ángel Nieto. And there we see the number 4 from Hyperion Racing in that wonderful cyan blue black liveried BMW M V8 hybrid. He has not put a foot wrong, and he is 43.1 seconds to the good ahead of Nathan Dowd. Dominic Dernberg rounds out the top 3 in the GTP classification. And funnily enough, could Wilson lap Dernberg by the end of the race? I think this might be very, very crucial in some respects, but this time it will be the white flag. Last lap here for round 9, season 15 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. And there it is, white flag in the air. 2.75 miles to go. Brandon Wilson in the Hyperion Racing BMW number 4 gets so close under braking he has to avoid. And Dominic Dernberg just says, I do not want any part of this. Backs out of the way, goes a lap down. So there's everyone up until Nathan Dowd that Brandon Wilson has at least put a lap down on. The GTD AMS, 4 laps down at least. That does actually include Bradley Haley, who's now ahead of Dale Green in the yellow submarine Aston Martin, who's going to take his second podium of the series.
Kudrowski with another black flag outside.
Oh, that could be instant points limit hit. So Mark Kudrowski's race, well, it'll still mean he gets P4, but that will definitely not help him getting on the podium. But the timer has officially hit 0 here for round 9, season 15 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge at the Jerez circuit here in Spain. And with a nearly over 3/4 of a minute lead, Brandon Wilson has been nothing but unstoppable here in Spain at this particular circuit. Right on board briefly for the final time with the number 4 from Hyperion, down to the final corner, out of Ferrari into Lorenzo, and it is going to be the checkered flag this time. Round 9, and he does the old burnouts with the 11s, and Brandon Wilson, whilst wiggling the back end of the BMW MV8 hybrid, takes the win here at round 9 of the series. It is going to be the case that Walker Carroll very soon will take the checkered. Dominic Dernberg comes across the line a lap down in P3 in the GTP division, so another podium for the Composite Performance 913 Acura. But Walker Carroll, another one that has led from lights out to checkered flag. He hasn't put a foot wrong. Robert Cast also. Now, will the 0x come up on the scoreboards? But Walker Carroll is going to pick up his win here in the LMP2 class. His first win since round 6 at Road America. Walker Carroll wins LMP2. Samuel de Oliveira makes it 3 from 3 in the GTD AM classification. And last but by certainly no means least, Robert Cast in the 42 Fury Simsport, backed by GT Dynamics. Aston Martin comes out of the final corner, and he will pick up the W in GTD overall. Well done to all our race winners here tonight. We've still got a couple of drivers left to cross the stripe. Mo Islam will round out your top 3 as the donuts have started to oh, dearie me. Don't start doing donuts by the first corner, Robert. Mo quickly had to get... Oh, dear. There's always a little bit of afters.
You know,
will that eliminate the 0x?
Yeah, it probably does.
Robert Cast. It probably does. So, Robert, if I see no 0x against his name on there, I'll go, well, that's you being a silly Billy for doing donuts off of turn number 1. But the dust and the gravel are very much settled here at Jerez. So let's take you through the final results for round 9, season 15 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge here from Circuito de Jerez. Brandon Wilson wins after 41 laps of racing by over 3/4 of a minute from Nathan Dowd in the Sector 5 Haley Agency Caddy. Composite performances accurate in the hands of Dominic Dernberg rounds out the GTP top 3. Walker Carroll and Kadeen Richardson round out the top 2 in the LMP2 category, and Walker Carroll winning by just under 11 seconds. Mo Islam takes another podium in P3 with Robert Tinsey bringing up the rear. Robert Cast takes the win by a big margin, and that's probably north of a minute. In the GTD side of things, Bradley Haley will finish a little bit further down in 11th, but still takes points for second position. Samuel de Oliveira, the Portuguese man of war, takes a third successive win. 3 of the last 4 races in the 522 Mustang, and Chris Sherburn, the 007 Gonbrook Racing Acura, finishes P2. Dale Green in the 979 Yellow Submarine Aston Martin rounds out your top 3 in GTD AM, with Mark Kajowski finishing nevertheless in 4th, but it could have been 2nd for the 00 Porsche at the end of that race. And now we head to the Haley Agency post-race show. We've got some drivers standing by. So first of all, I'm now going to pull in Robert Cast. So let's bring in our GTD class winner. Robert, good evening. Another win on the cusp for your good self, my friend, in the number 42 Aston. But can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Has the donuts and that little bit of an incident with Mark Kudrowski cost you a 0x that you were touting to Carter Kundiger in the Discord chat a little bit earlier on? Has that been affected?
No, I axed way, like probably halfway, before even halfway into the race. I just got too excited pushing into a corner thinking it'll hold, and I knew the front left was a little worn out, but I thought it would take, and just the slightest bit gave me 1x, so I just kind of threw it all away at that point, and I think I ended up with 6.
But still, nevertheless, a win's a win at the end of the day. I mean, we know that Bradley was trying to keep pace with you, ended up having a drama and then having to serve a penalty in the pit lane. But, you know, this puts you in a good frame of mind for Indianapolis in a couple of weeks' time, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, this wasn't a bad track to learn. It flows nice. I enjoyed the drive. Carter probably would have beat me here if he had shown up. So thanks, Carter, for not showing up. Love you, bud. Next week at Indianapolis is a good one, and I'm fairly decent there. I like to think so. I think it'll be another fun race.
Mm-hmm. I mean, still, we're not that far away from the penultimate round of the Autobahn Endurance Cup as well, which will take place in a month's time at Sebring. That could be an interesting one as well, especially with the way that Sebring is with the abrasiveness and the amount of surface changes you've got at that circuit. You know, the old location of the Hendricks Air Force Base back in the early part of the 1940s. That's another true test that the drivers are going to have to put themselves up against, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a good track. Every track that I basically am running this Assassin at is a new track to me. So it drives just like the Merc, except for it has a turbo. And if you get a little too excited on the throttle, it's gonna let you know. So, it's a fun car to drive, and I'm having fun with it. And I think it's gonna be a good battle. Carter's good to see ring, so if it comes down to it, yeah, I'm gonna let him know what's up.
Brilliant. Well, Robert, congratulations on another victory here in the Autobahn Sports Car Challenge. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to tonight?
Yeah, just a quick shout out as to the GT Dynamics team. Ross Booth helped me understand the track limits here and take advantage of all the lane that you can use. And just in general, the boys over there, you know them quite well from the SRR and GTO races, I believe.
Yeah, because we've got SRR coming up this weekend, and funnily enough, it's here as well.
Yeah, it's so we're putting a little bit of time getting to know the track. They make me look slow here, so that's gonna be good for them at least. But yeah, just shout out to them, and then like I said, the composite guys and you guys as well for doing the broadcast.
Brilliant. Well, Robert, congratulations on the win. We'll see you 2 weeks at the Brickyard at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for round 10.
Sounds good, gentlemen. Take it easy. Have a good night.
Yep. And I can now confirm Bradley Haley has just said in the Discord, sped in the pits? Question mark. Question asked by the man we just interviewed. Yes, sir, was the answer. So it was the case that Bradley Haley did go quite deep into pit entry. And that was actually spotted by the man that we're going to pull in now, who is our winner in the LMP2 class. Let's see if we can bring him in. It's now time to interview Fury Sim Sports Walker Carroll. Walker, good to see you back at winning ways, my friend.
Oh yeah, ready to be here.
So, lights out to checkered. Kadeem was giving you a little bit of grief earlier on in the race, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, you decided to make a pretty tough move at the beginning and got a bit of oversteer and definitely scared me a whole bunch to where I just decided to take an off track instead of risk anything.
A good decision, nevertheless, but a pretty convincing win here at Jerez, winning by nearly 11 seconds. I mean, how was the car feeling as the race went on in terms of fuel usage and tyre degradation?
I definitely should have taken all 4 tires. I only took lefts. So my right side fronts were screaming at the end. And it probably was not optimal.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I know that you're another one, along with, like, say, Robert Cast, who also takes part in the Sim Racing Republic Sportscar Championship, which is coming up with their, I think, penultimate round this week, this Saturday, funnily enough. Are you going to be in action for that one?
Yes, that's partly why I have a good bit of pace here right now, is because I've been doing a whole bunch of laps. I saw that that this league and that one was coming up, so might as well just get ready early.
Good stuff. Well, congratulations on the win tonight. Lights out to checkered. Before we let you go, Walker, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to in particular?
I guess my team, Fury Simsport, for getting me into this league and letting me know, and then also helping out with setup stuff, and hopefully for our next race, pulling out another good result there. So.
Brilliant. Well done on the win tonight, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks when we head over to the Brickyard at Indianapolis for round 10, and hopefully you can keep the winning streak on course. I hope.
Oh yeah, pulling the comeback.
Brilliant, Walker. Thanks for your time, mate. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time for round 10.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, next up in the Haley Agency post-race show, let's bring in our GTD AM winner. 3 wins out of the last 4 appearances. Once again, Samuel de Oliveira, you are on a winning streak, my friend. How's about that?
Wow, yeah, it's been a good run. Thank you. It's been a good run. I mean, I remember last time I was here after was it what was the last track? I just I forgot.
Bathurst.
Bathurst. Yeah, after Bathurst, I was saying that I had never put in any single laps at Jerez, and that was true. I had never done it, but oh man, this track is wicked. I loved it. Really good track.
I mean, let's put it into perspective. I mean, you were keeping pace with Bradley Haley again, like we saw with you chasing him down. You were leading him at Mount Panorama. We nearly saw a repeat of it. And well, the funny thing was is that Bradley actually, unfortunately, sped going into pit lane. He actually went a bit deep into the pit lane, and then all of a sudden, ping, 30-second penalty, black flag. There you go, slam dunk, and he ends up finishing behind you and Chris. But that Mustang was absolutely on point the whole race long. I mean, it's not easy around a track where, yes, we've seen that the ranks have dwindled in all of the classes, but when you're racing on your own, how difficult, just to give the folks at home an idea, when you're running your own race and you've got plenty of space between yourself and the cars in front and the cars behind, how difficult is it to keep that focus going for 60 minutes?
I feel like that's the hardest. That's the hardest situation to be in because if you're getting chased or if you're chasing someone, you always got to be on edge. You're always keeping attention to whoever's ahead of you, whoever's behind you. When you're running your own race, it's very easy to start getting on your mind, starting thinking about things that are not related with the race, getting a little bit distracted. And today, actually, I'm for some reason I'm just feeling really tired. So at some point, I was actually just kind of like feeling the tiredness setting in because I was kind of like
Mm.
relaxed driving. I was not on edge. I wasn't really on the limit, and that I actually my pace kind of like slowed down because of that. So that was the hardest part of managing this race was the fact that I was just racing against myself for a good while and keeping that concentration throughout the entire race was quite hard. But yeah, fortunately I didn't bin the car. I had a few off tracks throughout the race, but I was able to manage them and bring the car home.
Yeah, well, before we let you go, anyway, I've got a question about your livery. What's the inspiration behind it? Because I haven't quite got my head around it.
So this is so my livery is inspired by Milk and Mocha Bear, which is this very cute brand of little like plushies and little accessories, and they also started as like little comics on the internet. And me and my wife love these comics. We used to send them to each other a lot of times, and usually when I'm bored, I just think of an idea of something that I like, and I just do a livery for it. And I actually, this idea of Milk and Mocha came out for my Mercedes AMG GT4. I actually posted
Mhm.
that car on Trading Paints, and it got a really like good reception. I have like probably like 100 drivers racing it at the moment. And when I was thinking about my livery for this car, I was torn between the Milk and Mocha livery or another one that I have for my Mustang, for NASCAR Mustang, which is a Trader Joe's livery. But I decided to go with this one because I just like the colors. I think it's cute. There's a few little Easter eggs here and there as well in the livery.
Mhm.
So I just found out that it was a good, funny, wholesome livery to run with.
So you've effectively, I mean, if anyone might remember the Macau GT World Cup a couple of years ago, where Adley Fong decided to race with Hello Kitty, you've basically
Exactly.
taken that to Milk and Mocha and brought it to the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. So kudos to you, my friend. But 3 wins out of the last 4 races. This has really, really helped. I mean, obviously, Paul not being here. We are missing David, obviously, with what
Yeah.
happened to him at the Algarve. Obviously, a home race for you both, and he had a race he really wanted to forget, decided to withdraw from the series, which we completely understand and appreciate. But
Yeah.
still, you're closing the gap to Paul now, and it's going to be rather interesting. I'm hoping he comes back for Indianapolis, and we have a great battle between the pair of you because you two have really set a standard here in GTDM that's been quite high.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like I really love Indianapolis Road. I've had some wicked races there, so I would hope Paul comes back on that race and we can have a good race together and continue fighting for this championship.
Well, Samuel, again, a pleasure to have you here in the Haley Agency post-race show. Before we
Muito
let you go,
obrigado.
buddy, anyone that you'd like to thank in particular?
Um, I will. I just want to thank every. I mean, today there wasn't very high turnout, and I really want to thank everyone that showed up because it's the people that race with us that make the races fun, and I feel like I had a good time, and it was good to be around, and I'm happy to be participating here. So yeah, shout out to everyone that showed up at Jerez. Great track. Now on to Indy.
Indeed. Well, muito obrigado, Samuel de Oliveira,
Muito
our
obrigado.
winner from 3 races out of the last 4. We'll see you at the Brickyard in 2 weeks, my friend. Well done
Yeah.
tonight.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
So a big thank you there. And now you found you found out the inspiration of Milk and Mocha is actually it's actually a Japanese cartoon character over there in Asia. So that just goes to show if Adley Fong can do it in Macau, we can definitely have Samuel de Oliveira do Milk and Mocha here in the Autobahn Sports Car Challenge. Shout out to David Addison, the voice of the GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS. But last but by certainly no means least, he's back to victory lane. We bring in Hyperion Racing's Brandon Wilson. Brandon, firstly, congratulations on the win. 3/4 of a minute up the road, you were absolutely manhandling this circuit from lights out to checkered flag. And also, your qualifying effort, you were nearly 7/10 quicker than Nathan on this round of the series. Well done, firstly.
Thank you. I only just bought the track last night. So that, to be fair, I'm a huge motorcycle racer. Like I race in real life, and
Mhm.
throughout the years of like the MotoGP games and a few other games, I've done countless laps around here. But yeah, yesterday was like the first laps around here in a car, and oh my gosh, anything with downforce, so much fun. I don't know what it's like in like a GT car. I feel like the long corners might be a little tankish, but in a downforce car, it was awesome. Like I feel like this track really suits my style. It was fun to hustle it around the entire time.
Yeah, we just had a chat with Samuel in GTDM, and he just said like the track of a GTD car was absolutely wicked. That's what he's just put in the general chat in the Discord.
Okay.
But I think it is a track that I think could really it's a bit of a hidden gem, isn't it? I mean, where you got the downhill section where you got the double left, and it's a bit like Pouon in some respects, like Spa-Francorchamps, where
Mm.
you're sort of like you're accelerating as you're going through the corners, but you still got to be very, very mindful of how much throttle you actually put down, whether it's 50, 60, 70%. And we did see a couple of moments, and there was one from you just outside, just after coming out of the pits. Tell us what happened on that front.
It's just typical cold tires. I wouldn't say it ever really got out of hand, or at that point it was like, oh, Code Brown moment. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was kind of just letting it rip. These longer races where I didn't have anybody to really battle with, I kind of had to just compete with myself and just race the stopwatch, try to be as consistent as I can, even as the tires fell off. So I was just trying to push from the get-go the whole time.
Well, 2 weeks' time, we head to the Brickyard, Indianapolis. What are your thoughts about that, and how do you think the Beamer's gonna handle around there?
Pretty well. I did the Indy 6 hour in the Ferrari, and I'd say that Indy is probably one of my best tracks on the service. So I'm really fairly confident around there, and I think I should go pretty well. I want to try to recruit some guys to come race though, because it's a crowd, but it gets a little boring sometimes.
Yeah, we were having a chat with Samuel about when you're sort of running your own race, and you're sort of like, as we would say in the UK, Billy No mates, where you've got you're just concentrating on your own race, making sure you hit your braking points, you manage the traffic. It is very, very difficult, especially on a 60-minute race. But nevertheless, a win's a win, and this brings you ever closer. 8 points is now the difference between you and Nathan at the top of the GTP standings. So I think it's time to sort of like just knuckle down, and we're getting closer and closer to the end of the series. It is about just making those chances count at the right opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Especially with such the limited field that we have. It's really just about making every opportunity count, doing exactly what you need to do every race. Like Bathurst, I've been in the car. That was pretty tough. That was a tough race. Um,
I didn't really want to talk about that because we knew that you
yeah.
were pushing Nathan so hard, and then you hit the water at the top of the hill, and then bang, all of a sudden it was game over. But you've dusted yourself off from that time there at Mount Panorama, and you've come here. You took pole position, you took the fastest lap, and you gained an additional 2 points. So that gives you 27 for tonight. But well done. Before we let you go, anyone you want to say thank you to in particular?
Yeah, of course, my team, Hyperion Racing, uh, our sponsors, iPredictor. Uh, I'm so bad at this.
You know
Oh
what?
yeah,
One of
shout out, shout out my team, guys. They know who the important people are. Yeah,
You know what? You're going to have to one of these days just sort of like get the list in front of you, just on like on your phone or something like that. So
yeah,
at least you got it to hand. But nevertheless, Brandon, another race win. Well done tonight. We'll see you 2 weeks at the Brickyard at Indianapolis for round 10.
yeah. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
So with that, that concludes the Haley Agency post-race show here on round 9 of season 15 of the Autobahn Sports Car Challenge. Chris, final thoughts before we close things out. It wasn't exactly the most dynamic of races, but it still provided all our drivers here tonight that rocked up here to Jerez and gave it a go.
Yeah, it's just like we talked. And some of the drivers talked during the interview there too. It's just the mental game right there when you're in a race like this, just keeping your head on straight, not making any mistakes. And I think we're going to see a few more guys probably show up for Indy in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to getting back to the States. And it should be a really fun race at the Brickyard. But looking at the point standings too, all the point standings closing, getting closer, except for the LMP2. Kadeen's got a pretty decent lead there, but gonna have a battle right down to the wire in the GTB and the GTD, both the GTD classes. So it's gonna be an exciting finish to the season.
Yeah. So really, that's it for another jaunt over to continental Europe. But we go back to the US of A for the next 2 rounds of the series. Next up will be round 10, the 60-minute race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway at the road course. Layout of the Brickyard on February 16th before our final stop in the USA will be for round 3 of the Autobahn Endurance Cup and also round 11 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge on March the 2nd at Sebring International Raceway before we head to Germany, Spain and Belgium, to Hockenheim, Aragon and Spa for our final 3 rounds of the series. Just to give you an update on the respective point standings, including the first drop score, Nathan Dowd now has a 8-point lead after Brandon Wilson scored 27 points. And that includes the additional 2 points for fastest lap and pole position. In GTP with Dominic Dernberg now a further 9 points adrift in P3. LMP2, the lead between Kadeen Richardson and Walker Carroll now stretches to 2 race wins. That's 50 points for Kadeen Richardson, ahead of Walker Carroll, who takes his first win since Road America back at round 6 in early December last year. Mo Islam now moves up into P3 in the series on 184 points, just 2 in front of Satellite Racing's Robert Tinsley, with 2nd, 3rd and 4th hotly contested in LMP2. Robert Cast now becomes the new GTD points leader, as a no-show for Carter Cunningham puts him on a 0 drop score for the first time this series. 224 plays 217, with Bradley Haley a further 8 points adrift on 209. That's your top 3 in GTD. Meantime, the points gap has been absolutely scythed in half. Paul Slavonic not here this week. He now is only 9 points ahead of Samuel de Oliveira. And in the meantime, David Fernandez still holds on to P3. He has officially withdrawn from the series, but Chris Sherburn and Dale Green are very, very much in the fight for P3 in the Championship Series. More to the point, Fury Simsport now leave Jerez with 2,340 points to their credit. However, composite performance are only 87 points adrift heading into round 10 of the series in just 2 weeks' time. Sector 5 by Haley Agency is still 3rd in the standings on 2,088. Solpec Precision round out the top 4. Sector 5 Black and Satellite Racing round out the 6 teams that are scoring points in the series. Well, we say goodbye to continental Europe for at least 6 weeks before we head back to the Brickyard, the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway, as the sound of GTP, LMP2 and GTD will roar around the iconic road course, which is normally the home of the Intercontinental GT Challenge powered by Pirelli's Indianapolis 8 Hours. You can join us here, same place, in just 2 weeks' time for what could be a rather interesting and maybe even a decisive turn in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge for 2025 and 2026. Until then, you have been in the company of Alex Goldschmidt on lead commentary, and alongside me in the booth on play-by-play, along with for colour and also for production, Chris Murphy. This has been a JP Broadcasting Network production. Don't forget to give us a like, share and subscribe, because there is plenty of racing action in the sim racing world, no matter what it is, your penchant for single-seaters, one-make series, and even sports cars. We'll see you next time, and until then, race hard, race fair, and if in doubt, like Brandon Wilson showed tonight, you've got to go flat out. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye for now.